Matt, give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Okay. All right, I'm going to start things off. Okay, welcome everybody to the July meeting of the Barnard Astronomical Society. We're going to start things off with the business meeting. Hopefully we can wrap that up in 20 to 25 minutes. And then we have a special guest tonight. We've got Stefan Berg, who's going to be talking about N.I.N.A, which is nighttime imaging and astronomy. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the business meeting. And then when we're done with the business meeting, I'm going to turn things over to Stefan. All right. So starting through the agenda for the meeting. First of all, we'll start out going through, we'll call the meeting the order. We've got Stefan, who we've welcomed. We'll probably have a few more people joining us, I would imagine, but I've already got the list of people who are in the meeting so far, and as people hop in, I will try to capture them so we can get roll for the meetings. So first thing I'd like to do is review the minutes from the previous meeting. Again, we have discussed that we have postponed the elections until September due to the coronavirus. Next month, we're going to have to present a slate of candidates for the meeting. So, Matt, do you want to talk about that now, or when I get into the committees? Have you had any success getting a slate of candidates? Yeah, we can. Okay. So what we will, if we need to, according to the Constitution and the bylaws, if we want to have the election in September, we will need to have the slate of candidates available in August, and include that in the August newsletter. Okay. Changes in the Constitution. We've been talking about this for a while, basically changing how spending is approved, and we have the in the newsletter for the past 3 months, we have posted, as required by the Constitution, the proposed changes, and we would like to vote on that if we get enough people tonight. 7, 8, 9. Now, as I understand it, we just need to have a quorum for this. Is that correct? Okay. And that is 11, I believe, is the correct number, right? Okay, we've got that. All right. So I would ask for a motion to vote on the proposed changes to the Constitution.
So move.
Make a motion to vote on it.
What's that?
I'll make a motion to vote on the proposed changes.
Okay, who is that? David? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Put this for the minutes. Dustin is not here tonight. All right, a second?
A second.
Okay, Dennis. All right. All in favor? Raise your hand on your.
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hey, now. Okay, so the motion passes. We will put those changes in place for the Constitution, and those will go into effect as stated in the amendments that have been put in the newsletter. All right, financials, Janet covered last month, and since we're here now, and I see Janet on. Janet, do you want to go ahead and go through the report?
Yeah, we have a credit of $121.36. That's for memberships, and a debit of 550. That's the yearly dues for the Astronomical League. And we have $1,833.19 as of July 6th.
Okay, and the 550 was for the web domain, is that correct?
No, it's for the Astronomical League. We've got that
Astronomical
yearly
League.
dues that we have to pay. Yeah, we do. We got too many associates and not enough regular members or full members. We do have one member and 5 renewals.
No, I'm muted. I don't know who's doing that, but it's not me.
Okay, and we also had one new member, Stephanie Piles, if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
That's correct.
We had 5 renewals, and we have 78 members right now, and we've got, is that correct, 1,053 members on Meetup?
1,054 on Meetup.
Well, we need to get those people to come to our meetings.
I know. I do see a few that are crossed over, but not that many. But of course,
Okay, I see Jim is on.
with COVID, it kind of slowed everything down.
Yeah,
But I do tell them to follow us on Facebook.
they probably don't, if they may not know how to get onto the meetings here.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Janet?
Oh, I send little messages to them and tell them to follow us on Facebook and YouTube for right now.
I'm sorry, what, Janet?
I send messages to them, the new ones, and tell them to follow us on Facebook and YouTube for right now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hopefully they will get more involved.
Okay. All right. We had some correspondences again that I saw Janet replied to. I still think we need to take care of the request for the chattery. You replied to Larry, I saw. Ralph, did you have anything else to say on field trips?
No, for November, I don't know the field trip would be good. If we agree on that, I'm going to work on a program.
Okay. All right. Sorry, here there's a delay in changing screen, so I don't know if it's actually doing it. Okay, so some of the old business we had talked about, and Matt has approached me. Matt has been paying for this web service, and I appreciate Matt doing that. He shouldn't have to do that for the club, and it's great for Matt to take the initiative and do this for us. But we really need to accept the financial responsibility for hosting these things. So. I have a question here. Do we want to continue to pay for the whereby service? Or do we want to go to a service like Zoom that is free? I think we're happy with this service. It does cost money, but I think it's more reliable and we don't have to worry about some of the security issues that we have to worry about with Zoom. So Matt, can you unmute and tell us about the cost of this service? Per month, per year, per what? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that when I looked at it too. That sounds right. That's 3 months, that's not 1 month. So based on that, what I would propose is that we continue to use Zoom and that the club start paying the expense for using Zoom. I'm sorry, whereby. Sorry about that. Did you ever?
Don't you have a time limit on Zoom? Because we do in our Sunday school. It cuts us off halfway through.
Ralph, Zoom only cuts you off at I think a 40-minute limit if you're using the free version of it. If you're paying for it by the month, it's unlimited.
Okay.
So anyway, my point being that the club should pick this up and Matt shouldn't have to pick this up. Now, is there strong feelings whether we should be using Zoom or Whereby or another service? Because I don't want to have Matt continue to pay for this.
I think
Patrick,
they both cost.
my feeling is that we could at least approve using Whereby for the rest of the year and then reevaluate at the beginning of next.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, and if it's $15, $20 a month, they're about the same cost. It's pretty close, just a few dollars apart. So
we're happy with this service. We know how to use it. All right. I'd like to make a motion then that the club funds Whereby for the remainder of the year to be decided on with the budget process going into the next year. Do you have a second?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I'm just making notes here, the resolutions. Okay. So the final thing that we've been talking about that we said we're going to vote on this month is the new due schedule. So after talking with everybody and considering a bunch of different viewpoints, what I've come up with is that what I propose is that the new due schedule is that regular members would pay $35. Family membership would be $50, and then we have a student or senior discount, which is $25. That's not going to change the type of memberships in the Constitution. If, say, there were a 16-year-old, as defined, for example, in the Constitution, that wouldn't change whether they were an associate member or whatnot. This is just the fee schedule for those members. A 16-year-old would presumably be a student, and they would have a fee schedule of, say, $25. So are there any other comments or questions on the due schedule that I'm proposing? Does this look reasonable to everybody?
What's the age of breakout for the seniors?
Students, they would have to be in high school or college with an ID.
What's the senior age?
We don't. That's what I'm proposing right now. Yeah.
Yeah, my question hasn't been answered. What is considered the age of a senior?
I can't really hear you very well.
At what age do we set for the senior?
Senior would be 65.
65.
So that's probably half the club.
That's what I was thinking, but I was not going to say it.
Okay. I'm okay if we want to get rid of that. But some people, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I don't really qualify as a senior as yet, but I'm fine with the $35.
You know, what's that? I mean, I understand some people are on fixed incomes, so that's really why that's there.
Maybe we could give them a choice if you've got a senior that prefers $25, they can, or if you've got a regular member that wants to pay the full amount, they can too.
Certainly. And the other thing we're going to have to consider is once we do this, we're going to have to make some changes to the website for the PayPal, which I think is pretty straightforward. Yeah, and I mean, we have some other things that we want to do, and this will help get us, a good portion of the way there. We'll still have to do some fundraising if we still want to be able to do all the things we're doing. Yeah. Well, again, like I said, maybe we could do, like you said, some scholarships, or if some of us, we could put some extra money in, it depends on everybody's personal situation. We could do that to help other people, that's something like my daughter's in the Chattanooga Girls Choir. And, you have families that are blessed and can take care of this, and some that can't. And those that are in a better situation can help those that are not. So that's always something that we could look at, setting up, like you say, a scholarship. I think that's what you're talking about with the scholarship, Matt, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to adopt the membership due schedule as posted here.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. All right. Motion passes. Okay. So, any other we want to go to the committee reports. So, Ralph, do you have any updates on the programs?
Well, I'm working on one for next month with the cosmologist that works with Dr. Blair, and he's agreed to do a program for us.
Okay.
So we're up to November, and if we decide not to go on a field trip, which I still recommend that we don't, then I'm going to try to do a special one for November. Have somebody in mind. So if we agree to do that, then I'll start contacting him, see if I can get a good program.
Okay. And the cosmologist would be next month, right?
Yes, and
Is he from Dalton State?
yes, he's going to do a program on dark matter and dark energy.
Oh, very cool. Okay. Anything else there, Ralph?
No, I think I'm booked up right now to up to November anyway.
Okay. Great. All right. Is Beth online? I don't see her. Beth Wallace for the newsletter. All right. I just want to say, I mean, a lot of great stuff in the newsletter. Ralph, again, thank you for your article. A lot of nice pictures. Starting to see a lot of solar. So that's something that we weren't doing. So a lot of good solar stuff on there. Bobby's got his picture of M101. Dustin is really starting to get pretty good too. Is what he's got a picture there of the Eagle Nebula. Dennis has got some pictures of the Eagle Nebula as well as the comet. David and Dennis have some solar image. I have some solar. I have a lot of solar imaging data, but I haven't processed it yet, so I'm like way behind. But a lot of good stuff in there, and again, thank you for all of your images, Ralph. Again, thank you for your articles that you're doing every month. So fantastic. And if you have anything, an equipment review, astro images, if you make a visit to a museum or something like that, or anything like this, people in the club and outside the club want to hear about this. So please consider submitting your images, submitting your articles. It doesn't have to be long, but that'll really help out a lot. I know Beth will appreciate it. I will appreciate it. So please consider submitting your articles and ideas to the newsletter. Okay. Matt, do you have anything to say? Update on the 100-year anniversary. Our 100-year anniversary is coming up in November of 2023. And we have a group IO group and planning going on. Matt, do you have any updates on that? I thank you, Matt. Okay, they have a group IO group, and they have the meeting schedule on there, and I believe they have them the Thursday following the club meeting, if I'm not mistaken. But if you look on the group IO forum, there is a what's the word I want to look for? I guess a subgroup for the 100-year anniversary, and they should have the meeting schedule in there. Okay, so we're going to be wrapping up the business meeting now. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the business meeting. And now we will transition into our feature presentation for tonight by Stefan Berg. And we're going to be talking about nighttime imaging and astronomy, program known by its acronym as N.I.N.A. So now I would like to get off and shut up and turn things over to Stefan.
All right, thanks. Let me take over this sharing. Okay, first of all, thanks for having me and for the possibility to present the software. And let me start the presentation I prepared. So I want to briefly talk about the software that I created. It's called Nighttime Imaging and Astronomy, or short, just N.I.N.A. And about me, so I'm 34 years old. I'm a professional software engineer, so for 10 years now in the business. And yeah, I've created this software. I'm also an astrophotographer for a couple of years now. I like to play computer games, and I have cats. So let's talk about what's N.I.N.A. So first of all, N.I.N.A is a versatile software with a broad variety of capabilities and many tools to plan and execute your imaging run. So you have capabilities to frame an image, to focus an image, to center images, and to plan one or multiple images for one night, and to control and to automate everything for your imaging run to make it as easy as possible. So as you can see in the equipment control, we have various types of equipment available. So we have camera, telescope, filter wheels, focusers, rotators, switches, weather devices, and also soon with the new release of version 1.10, we will have flat devices, and the list will get bigger and bigger with each release. So to get all this together, we also want the software to be approachable. So we want the configuration to be as straightforward as possible, and we want to assist in the process of configuration as good as possible. So it should be not much of a hassle to set up your environment and to get your imaging run started as quickly as possible to not lose any of these valuable clear nights. And one of the big factors for the software is that it is open source. So it means all the source code is freely available, as well as the software itself is available freely to download. And I also welcome feedback and also contributions. So contributions are just other persons or other people that are interested in the software and have some development skills or just want to help in general, and they can improve the code base by contributions. So I can explain that in a bit in more detail. Coming to the project timeline itself. So personally, I started with the astrophotography hobby in 2015, starting with the DSLR and so on, having various software. But in 2016, I switched to a dedicated cooled astro cam. So it was a ASI 1600 back then. And I wasn't happy with the available solutions that were offered. So I planned with a project and looked around what needs to be done for my software and for my gear that I have. And I started working on this project. And basically, I worked almost a year just for me in my local environment to get everything running and to build a baseline and a foundation. And then in 2017, I launched N.I.N.A version 1.0 and also made it open source and available to the public. So fast forward 2018, I also wanted to advertise it more broadly to the community and to others. So I created the Discord server. That's basically a chat server where you can have various people on and discuss about various topics. And I've set up everything so that people that are interested can join and that we can easily communicate, get feedback. Others can help with supporting the software and also to align with other interested contributors to get our features. And in 2019, I have launched a dedicated homepage for it together with the big version 1.8. There we had a big UI overhaul. We had all the modern design applied and a vast list of new features. And this was basically the point where lots of new people got interest in the project and where we get more traction about it. So with all the influx of new people, there were also the requests that people wanted to translate the software into various languages. And for that, I have looked into various solutions and we ended up with Crowdin, which is a simple integration to make the translation process as easy as possible. So on this platform, you just have a dashboard with all the labels that are available in the application, and you can choose various languages there, and then whichever language you are familiar with, you can easily translate the labels into their language without having to know anything about coding at all. And then these labels, once they get approved, are automatically synced into the code repository. So this has led to up to 15 languages right now. So we have from Chinese to Spanish to Galician to Italian and so on. So we have a vast list of languages, and yeah, this list will most certainly be more expanded when time goes on and more people are willing to translate it. Additionally, recently I have started the Patreon campaign. So Patreon is basically a crowdfunding platform. So because people are interested in supporting this free project and to support my work, and with more people are interested in supporting this project financially, I can also make it bigger and put more time into developing for the project. So for the future outcome, there are always new ideas. We have a really big list of new ideas which we want to enhance the application. There's also, for example, a new sequencer planned for a broad variety of capabilities. So right now, the sequencer is having fixed steps of what you can do. And in the future, this should be possible to have something like you have a full list of available actions you can do, and then you can plan each step individually, so you can lay out your sequence plan as you want. So this will be the big thing that I will be working on in the next month together with other interested contributors. So this project is all about the community. So I alone couldn't achieve what N.I.N.A has come so far. So we have the Discord community, and this one has grown vastly in the last 2 years. So we have hundreds of users on this platform, and we have also many active members there. And we don't only talk about the software itself, but also about the hobby. And people come here getting help for some equipment they have or they want to buy. And with the crowd knowledge, we can help them as good as possible with the knowledge of different devices that each member has. And also, for example, for post-processing, we have dedicated channels for that, and people can ask questions and get better with it. And personally, I also have gotten many tips and tricks out of that, and it's really a nice community, and feel free to join there too. So about contribution, basically, when you are interested and you also have coding knowledge, you can contact me on Discord, and we have some separate channels there where we loosely communicate with each other who is working on what, and there we align on new features, and even if it's just a simple change you want to bring in, everything helps improving the software, and we can align there. And it's not hard to get up your local environment running, and if you have problems there, just reach out to me or other contributors, and we are happy to help bringing up your environment to also add to the code base. Yeah, and about the localization, I already mentioned that. We also have the crowd-in platform, so if you are multilingual and can also help in the translation, feel free to go to the platform. You can just create an account and start translating right away. The link for that is also on the homepage. Okay, so if you are happy with the software, it's free. So it's this page here is completely optional. But if you are happy with the software and you want to support it for the further development, and we all want to keep it alive, I have set up the Patreon campaign. There you can donate on a monthly basis, or if you just want to have a one-time donation, you can also do so via PayPal. More details is on the homepage too, on the donate section. And most importantly, the software can be downloaded on nighttime-imaging.eu. There you can find all the links, the download links, some news, the Discord server, and also some online documentation about the software itself. And I want to have a special thanks to everyone so far that is helping the project to grow. So you can see we already have a lot of Patreons here that are supporting the project on a monthly basis. And I'm really glad these people are there, and I'm grateful for believing in the software and to further grow it. Okay, enough talk about the general software. So now I want to show you a bit around what the software looks like and what it's capable of. And let's start with it. So first of all, I will start on a simulated environment, and later on I can also show a real-life environment. So luckily the clouds vanished 1 hour ago, and I could set up my stuff quickly. And we can see some live footage soon. So when you start the application, you can see the dashboard here. You can see all the various equipment types. So this is basically the version 1.10 with the release candidate. This version will launch soon, but it's already available for download if you are interested in early adoption of it. So you can see we have a camera, we have filter wheels, focusers, rotators, telescopes, guiders, switch, flat panels, and weather devices that you can already control with it. So when you are there, you can simply select your device. We can control most of it via ASCOM, but we also have native implementation for many of the available cameras. So we have ZWO, QHY, FLI, and so on. So each of these major brands, we have also the native implementation, which offers a more broad capability and also a much quicker download time for your images instead of this ASCOM wrapper. For this demonstration, I want to show you it via the simulator. You just click here on the connection button, and on your first run, you can click for everything. And when you have set it up once, you can also click on this connect button on the top, on the bottom left, to connect everything at once. So for example, I will connect to these devices and also connect to this telescope, for example, here. And as I said, some configuration options N.I.N.A will already give you guidance for it. So for example, here in the telescope simulator, the telescope is set up for a latitude and longitude that is different to that is set up in N.I.N.A. And there you can choose if you want to sync N.I.N.A to the telescope or the telescope to N.I.N.A, or you don't want to sync at all. So for this demonstration, I want to sync the N.I.N.A coordinates to the telescope, and then it connects to it, and the coordinates are applied here. Okay, so once you have your equipment connected, you want to plan for a target. And for that, we have this Sky Atlas here. So you can click on search and get a list of everything which we have. But this is not very helpful to choose a specific target for the night. So we have a bunch of filters which you can expand here. I will just show everything at once here. So you can, for example, filter by object type, coordinates, surface brightness, or also by altitude. And what I most of the time do is, for example, I know for this night, I will be imaging from midnight to like 3 a.m. And the target should be at an altitude of at least 20 degrees for this duration. And when I search now, I will now get targets that are suited for this specific configuration. Furthermore, when you know, for example, which target you want to search for, you can also have a quick search here and for example, NGC 62, and you get every target with this designation, and you can choose one from this list. So once you have a rough idea what you want to image, you can set it for the framing. And for example, let's take the globular cluster here, and I will set it for the framing assistant. And now it will download an image from the NASA Sky Survey. And you are able to frame here. On the left side, you have a bunch of parameters that you can choose from. So here I have a basic camera parameter set up. So a small sensor with a pixel size of 3, and the focal length of my telescope is 625. And this rectangle here is basically the framing of my camera. And I can drag it around. And for example, if I want to image this one in specific, I can drag the rectangle here and then replace it for the sequence, which I will show in a minute. What you can also do is we have an offline framing capability. This one doesn't have any images yet, but if you don't have an internet connection, for example, you can interactively zoom out here and look into all the targets that are available for N.I.N.A. So this view is all offline. And these grid lines are right ascension and declination. And if you want to know if it's a good altitude for you, you can see on the bottom left this altitude chart. And there you can, for example, set this so that the peak is at the darkest hour of your night. Then scroll in, and when you go up or down, you can see which targets are a good fit. For example, on this live equipment which I have set up, I'm currently imaging NGC 68220. I could go there. And for example, my camera is now bigger. Let's pretend I have an almost APS-C sized camera here, and I want to frame it here. I can now set it to replace this target, and then this will be set as a sequence. What I can also plan here are mosaics. So for example, I want to image more targets at once. I can simply put in more panels, and when I add this as a sequence now, it will create 4 sequence items, for each panel 1 sequence basically. So when I put this here, for example, and then say I want to replace this as a sequence target, you can see now that everything is created for me. Each tab here has the different coordinates, and each one is a different panel, basically. And the sequence view is the heart of the application, basically. So once you have your target selected, you can now select what the sequence should look like. Right now, I have already set up a template, which you can also set up. I won't go into details on how to do that, but you can find more details about this in our online documentation. But basically, I have enabled here to center the target, to start my guiding, and also autofocus. So on the start of everything, after the HFR increase of 10%, and I can also say, for example, when I want to change the filter, I also want to have an autofocus run. And this sequence here in particular will go through 10 images for 180 seconds each for the red filter, then for blue, then for green. And after that, it will go to the next target and continue. And when you start this, you can go to the imaging tab here. And this is basically your dashboard. Once you start the imaging run, here you can see everything live. And now I want to change to the live environment here. So this is now my real setup. You can see this is how it's currently running. So as I said earlier, here I have set up NGC 6820 for narrowband. And currently it's doing 12 exposures out of 30 planned. And yeah, here you can see everything at once. You have your camera information, your focuser information, you have the guide graph out of PhD. And apparently just right now, clouds have come into the place and ruining the presentation. But anyway, you can see here now also the statistics of the current frame. So this image in particular, you can zoom into it, inspect all the stars. And you can also see the HFR is 3.17 here. And this is basically this data entry. And this is the history out of the whole sequence that was done so far. And you can see the HFR is pretty constant on also star count. And you have the weather data here and the sequence progress. And you can also jump back to previous images during your sequence run. And this whole UI here is customizable. So for example, you take the autofocus window here and you want to put it there. And you can customize the whole interface here to your liking, and it will be automatically saved. Okay, I think now it's a good time to ask some questions. This was a fast and quick overview about the basic capabilities. All right, we have multiple options here. So you have TIFF, FITS, and XIF format. So the last one is the PixInsight format. And N.I.N.A will also write for FITS and XIF files the whole header information that's available. So when you have a telescope connected, it will put in the telescope coordinates for the camera. It will put in gain, offset, and for filters, the filters. And yeah, if you want to see each of the keywords, they are described on the documentation on the homepage. But we have a bunch of header information available for post-processing, making it really easy to post-process. Additionally, when you save files, you can have these file patterns and organize your imaging run by this. So for example, I have the application start date as a folder, then the target name as a folder, the image type and the filter, and then the actual file name will be this macro here, and a preview to that pattern is on the bottom. So you can see you have this state as a folder, then these are also folders, and the actual file name will be that one. Mm-hmm. Yes. I want to show that in about 11 minutes. But yeah, the clouds are really bad now. So for plate solving, we have a bunch available too. So we have astrometry.net. This requires an internet connection. We have the local astrometry.net client. We have PlateSolve 2, All-Sky Plate Solver, and ASTAP. And ASTAP is my preferred solution right now because it's really fast, especially also for blind solves. It's amazing how fast it can solve even when it doesn't know where it is. And furthermore, the creator of ASTAP, N.I.N.A, is also active on our Discord server and also took some example images where the solve didn't run, and 2 days later the software was fixed and the solver was working with these files too. So it's amazing that he's also part of the community here. Okay, now you can see an autofocus is triggered because the HFR was rising here, mostly because the guiding was going way off due to the clouds. But yeah, it's good to see now that you can see the autofocus run here. So it's, yes, exactly. So right now I have set it up to trigger automatically when the HFR rises by 10%. And also outliers won't immediately trigger this autofocus run, only when the trend in total rises by 10%. And yeah, it looks like my Wi-Fi connection is a bit off right now. But yeah, the autofocus is your typical autofocus. It takes the current position, takes an image of it. I hope it will get back soon to show it. Yeah, then it moves the focuser out by the specified amount of initial steps and the step size combined, and then goes inwards by your step size, takes data points, and then uses a fitting to determine the best focus point. Yeah, and for the fitting, we also have multiple methods available. So you can choose between trend lines, parabolic fitting, and hyperbolic fitting, or even a combination of trend line and parabolic. So right now I have set up trend line plus parabolic fittings. They're pretty good in combination. And basically it takes the trend line fit and the parabolic fit and takes the average measurement of both to determine the autofocus point.
What was the name of that plate solver again, please?
ASTAP. ASTAP.
Yes, I'm currently using that and having trouble connecting it with SharpCap. I'm still working on that.
Okay, you can see now the new focus position has been determined. So here's the new focus point, and now the sequence will continue. So guiding continues too. Yeah. I don't think we have one of the individual brands, but I think we have at least the general vendor list in the documentation on there. Not, I need to add that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, we have also a lot of beginner astronomers also in the Discord asking beginner questions, and we are always helpful, and we try to bring them to get their images done and also helping with processing and so on. So yeah, this is the main goal. So especially for the mobile imager, this is a great solution. So when you are out and want to quickly set up your stuff, you can do so. What it's currently a bit lacking of is full error recovery. So for example, when clouds fully roll in now, N.I.N.A don't recognize this and just continues. But in the future, this is also planned to be tackled to also support something like domes and stationary setups to get this up and running. Just a matter of time. Yeah, it's actually that there are volunteers that say they have this and that type of equipment and it's not already supported in N.I.N.A and they want to help. They have a software background. And yeah, we have, for example, for the upcoming next version, we already are working on version 1.11. And there, a contributor got a new dome set up in his garden and he volunteered to integrate this into N.I.N.A. And yeah, this will be one of the first features for the next one to also be able to use the domes directly in N.I.N.A. And the process is simple. You just say what you want to add to N.I.N.A. We discuss it with the contributors, check if it's fitting into the application, into the general idea of it, and then you can start working on it. And yeah, once you're done, it goes into the review phase. So everything that you will do will be in a separate code branch. So you can't directly put anything into the repository. You have to get past the gatekeeper, which is me. So everything goes through my code review process. And once I'm happy with how it looks like, I will merge it into the repository and build a new version with this new content. So yeah, it's loosely coupled and yeah, has advantages. Yeah. They are, yes. And actually, one of the contributors already has the QHY 600. And there are also some users that use the ASI 6200 successfully. And one big advantage about N.I.N.A is that it is x64 capable. So some other software solutions are only x86 compiled and are restricted to 1 GB of RAM. And those full frame sensors will give them a real hassle to fit that into this restricted environment. Yeah. Okay, now you can also see the meridian flip. Hopefully it works because there are clouds currently in the way. But basically, N.I.N.A just detected that the new exposure won't fit into the meridian flip time. So now it pauses for the next 2 minutes, and then it will do the flip according to the specifications, select the new guide star, resume the auto guider, and continue the sequence. Yeah, and in the chat, someone said he heard that the download of image files is much quicker. So yes, one big advantage of N.I.N.A is also once the image is downloaded, it will be in a asynchronous task in parallel to the rest. So it downloads the image and it will directly start the new image, and the processing time and the saving of the image time is done in parallel to not lose any time at all. And due to the native driver implementation for most of the camera brands, this download time itself is also much quicker. For example, I had a user initially where I built the Attic implementation for it. And with this TESCOM driver, he had like download times of 25 seconds. And with the native driver, this was shoved down to 10, and this makes a real difference during the night. Yeah, we also support Canon and Nikon cameras, not as well as other solutions maybe, but that's mainly because the camera SDKs are really trouble to work with. But yeah, we have successful imaging runs with Nikon cameras and Canon cameras. It's just sometimes you really need to get a tight cable to the camera, and yeah, especially the DSLRs with their micro USB cable, they are a bit flimsy for that. But in general, it will work. Yes. Yes. Yeah, and in the telescope pane here, you can see also the coordinates that change. It's now flipping the peer side. Yeah, it's due to the equatorial mount, so the axis of the mount, how it's lined up. So when you're tracking through the right ascension and you are moving past the point in the south hemisphere, your telescope might hit the tripod at some point. So you have to flip the scope from one side to the other to continue your imaging run without hitting your tripod. That's only possible if your driver exposes the peer side. So some drivers do that, and then you can specify in N.I.N.A to use the peer side. Some drivers don't expose that, and some drivers even expose the wrong peer side. So yeah, one of the biggest issues when working with N.I.N.A was the ASCOM specification, because you have a fixed specification about how things should behave, but actually the driver vendors don't necessarily use that specification 100%, and we had a lot of issues just because the driver was not according to the specification. But we are adamant about that if you want to have a driver with this ASCOM specification, make sure that it complies to the interface, and if not, reach out to the vendor to fix it. Because we can't work around 100 different types of equipment and drivers to have it working. That's not the idea of ASCOM either, in my opinion. So if you already have a unified interface and have to distinguish between different kind of equipments, that's not the idea of an interface. So now you can see after the flip, the telescope was not perfectly centered. So now it will issue a plate solve again, re-slew to the target, reconnect the remote desktop, and continue the image run. I hope the clouds won't interfere with the. Yeah, it seems to work. Yeah, now it's centered again. I can see some amount of clouds, but basically this star cluster here is what was basically there before here. So now we are centered again. Gliding is started. It will settle now for the amount of time that I have specified. And then the sequence continues as nothing has happened at all. Yep. Well, thank you again for having me and for the possibility to present to you this. Yeah, and if you have any more questions, just reach out to me in Discord and we can clarify everything there. Sure.
So moved. This is Ralph. Stefan, thank you very much. I'm the program chairman. Really appreciate your time in the program. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
A second.